Right, there's going to be a dam of poo in a minute, so warning. Warning, poo alert. Oh my god, that stinks, man. In fact, I am going to open full hatch. Said, oh no, for sake. I feel I'm going to need a bucket.
Pretty bloody windy out there today, lad. Pretty bloody windy indeed. Got the wind coming straight down the river. I think we're about 24 knots at the minute. And it's meant to be picking up during the day as well, so I've come down here. I might go for a sail later, I'm not sure yet. The reason I've come down here today is A, I left my passport on board after the Belgium trip. I need to pick it up. And the other one is my toilet decided to block and then do something else which I think is broken, probably from me trying to push whatever I'd done in it out, and now it's popped something and it just, yeah, it's all, the pump on it is weird. Come out of this wind because it's pretty wild out there. So I've got here my service kit. This is for the 2007 onward toilet. Distinguish between the different years from the markings on the pump housing. So if you've got like a black background with Jabsco on it, that's 2007 onwards, and then anything before that is sort of the previous models. But if you've got a twist and lock type handle, that is the 2007 onward sort of model, if you like. Got a load of stuff in here. It's got like some sort of valve and diaphragms and all that gubbins. Actually quite a bit of stuff going on. The problem I have at the minute is when I'm pumping the toilet, there's nothing going out of it. And when I did take it apart to try and sort the blockage out that I had, I noticed a lot of calcium build up on the plunger plug itself. So I cleaned that up, but there's obviously lots of extra bits which I haven't inspected yet. So I bought the service kit, it's about 40 quid, and I'm just going to give the whole thing a good going over and make sure that it's good for future use, basically. Because I'm going to be working on this toilet, I'm going to be isolating the inlet valve from the outlet valve, but I've also got a mask because there's probably going to be poo involved, considering this is going to be a toilet related bit of maintenance. What else have I got? I've got some nitrile gloves, I've got my glasses, and I'll put some anti-back spray and what have you down there so I can work on this, not having to move around the boat. You can hear all the rigging and lines banging around in here. So here we go. Take apart this housing, and it's got a load of gubbins in there, and then this bit, and then that bit. Parts kit comes with a destruction manual and rebuild kind of instructions on it, which is good because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing here. So that is going to help me to try sort this problem out. There it is. So you get one of these with it and you just work through it bit by bit. Obviously there's plenty of information and previous videos, probably much better than this, on how to do a service on these toilets. I've also got some Vaseline as well, which I'm told I'm supposed to have for this job, so some of the seals need it. So that's that, and then yeah, let's see how it goes. Gonna need some tools, I think. Screwdriver and probably a spanner to undo some of the clips for the hoses. But yeah, okay, let's crack on, see how it goes. Probably get some light on this situation, it might help as well. This camera is probably going to get in my way massively, but we'll see. So first things first, I've got to unscrew this lid thing from the housing assembly. It's one of the first jobs, using a, I think, 24mm spanner. I haven't got one of them, so I'm just going to use this. There we go. Uh-oh.
obviously there's going to be a bit of water involved with that. So there we go, that's the plunger assembly. So the next thing is I've got to take off this handle, which is easier said than done because you just can't unscrew it that easy. But what I'm going to do is use a set of mole grips. So there we go, that's that removed. Let's put that down there for now. Next thing is I've got to remove this bit from the rod assembly. So I'm just literally just gonna slide that off the end like so. And then I'm going to wrap some tape around this thread to protect the seals on the new top cover when I put it back on. Just got to replace this little O-ring on the plunger unit. Now sometimes I found when I took this apart initially, this section was very heavily calcified and you can still see there's a little bit left on there, so get rid of all of that because that will help your toilet flushing abilities no end. Just put the new seal on that section there, and I'm just covering it with a light film of Vaseline, petroleum jelly, just to give it a bit of effectiveness in the plunger. Not going to be putting this back in because I've got to take off the rest of this. So as far as the plunger is concerned, if you have any issues with this, water leaking out through the top or anything like that, this is all you're going to need to do. If you've got any other problems, you're going to have to go in there and overhaul a bit more than just the plunger. Oh God, it's blowing like mad out there now. So the next bit is to disconnect the water inlet hose, which is that one there, and the water flushing hose into the bowl. So yeah, just undo those little rings there and then remove them from the pump housing. I have to open the hatch up in a minute because it is proper whiffy. And I'm probably wise to get a bucket because I have had a blockage with this, and yeah, I don't expect it to be very pleasant when I start removing the lower part of this pump. There we go. That's them off. So the next thing now is to remove this housing assembly. We've got to undo these 4 bolts. Right, there's going to be a dam of poo in a minute, so warning, poo alert. Oh my God, that stinks, man. Stinky. Very pungent in here right now. I might have to open the fore hatch. In fact, I am going to open the fore hatch. That said, oh no, for fuck's sake. I feel I'm going to need a bucket. I'm going to need a bucket here. It's getting real bad now. So just remove these 4 screws. So that's, oh, pretty disgusting, isn't it? Oh, that's even worse. Anyway, put that there, and that's the choker valve, obviously full of shit. I've got a small bucket, and I'm just going to see if I can catch that. The choker valve is clogged, but it's also, there's quite a heavy calcium build up as well, so just going to replace that anyway. Okay, so I have cleaned up this area as best as I can now. I'm just going to put in the choker valve, the new one. There it is. That's the new choker valve, and that's the base valve gasket. So that goes in there like that, and that goes in like that. That's your base valve gasket. So yeah, mine was completely pushed down because I was putting a load of pressure on it, and that's the reason why it wouldn't, do you know what I mean, seal up. So there we go, that's that. So I'm going to try and not lose these little screws because I've only got, I think, one replacement. Okay, that's all the bolts removed. We take that off now, and that's in there. Okay, so yeah, not looking the best. These little weights and stuff, this just comes off. So that is also part of the replacement, so throw that, and probably just get a new one of them as well. So there's still a little bit of residue and what have you around the chamber, so clean that up and fit the new parts. So I just put the top, just fitted the top valve seat onto this piston, and this is the top valve gasket. That goes just over like so. Actually, I'll just make sure that that's sat properly there. And now there's a few little bits to do in here, so I'm just going to undo this little debris in there. So you've got a little O-ring in there, and this spring just releases, or this catch that changes the top valve gasket position. Out of the way, and I've got to get that out of there, so I'll use my, where are you? Now if you've got water coming out of your valve lever, that's probably that little O-ring there that's knackered. So we'll stick that in the bin, put the new one on. So O-ring new goes on there. I might just put a little bit of grease around that. Petroleum jelly. We'll go. Come on. Come on. It's not wanting it. What am I doing wrong? Aha! Just nestle the new O-ring on the top of the debris. It doesn't look like the right size to me, but hey ho. So put the lever on. Oh my god, it's so rocky at the minute. I'm gonna throw up. there's no movement. So that's a good seal around the O-ring. That's good. Give it a little bit more. It's fine. Okay, so that's the O-ring changed. Might just change this little spring as well while we're here, because it is in the kit. Nice new spring on there. There we go. Don't know why it needs that. Seems a bit pointless to me. But I suppose once it's on the top, that spring pushes down on that weight of the gasket, the valve gasket, and that tucks in underneath that weight and lifts it up. And the spring is just there to replace that seal once you've moved the valve away from the spring, if you know what I mean. So that's all been reassembled. I'm just going to double check, make sure everything is where it needs to be before I reassemble this, and then yeah, just have it in the water inlet position so that lever is away from the gasket just while you're reassembling it. Just going to put a bit of petroleum grease on the end of the screws, make that a bit easier to put in. Oh, it's a rocky day in the river. Bloody weather. Can't you see I'm servicing a toilet, man? Okay, so that's the top section back on the pump, and I'm just going to put in, obviously with a bit of Vaseline, I'm going to put the plunger back in, screw it on. And use the correct size spanner, which I don't have, to do it up. Cool. Nice action, man. You can just see the other end. That's that. So now we just need to reassemble this onto the base of the toilet and get the poo bracket back, or the poo outlet bracket back onto the valve. I love to play around with toilets on a Sunday because I'm weird. So they're all tightened up. Just going around one last time. All seems good to me. The back bit is on, so now I just need to get these hoses put back on to the appropriate areas, and that will be done. I'm going to give this area a proper spray down and give the toilet a bit of a clean, because underside of it is a bit manky and filthy, and then we'll open up the valves and give it a function test. The thing about this job has been absolutely filth. Right then, moment of truth. Let's open up the valves and see if this thing is gonna hold out. So just, God, it's blowing a crapper out there. That's open. Okay. So unfortunately, even though the toilet is working, the outlet pipe is full of calcium buildup, so I had to remove the siphon unit elbow, which was full of it, completely blocked, and pump out the rest through the available end nozzles. So yeah, I cleaned up all nicely and now it's covered in crap again. So if you have problems pumping or discharging after you've overhauled your toilet, it's probably going to be all the calcium build-up. Working again. Hey! Right, that's it then. Toilet job done. I have sprayed down already, but I am going to give it another spray. But yeah, if you've got any questions about this job, don't ask me, because I don't see myself as a professional, but you can see what I've changed out, the sort of like things that I've come across, the calcium build up. One thing I have noticed is that the inlet hose onto these is quite stiff, so I've just had to put a little bit of grease petroleum jelly around the port there, and yeah, it's gone on alright. Just coming up the Orwell, and there's a big classic regatta coming right towards us. Look at that. You can probably see that now. Wind's been really fickle up here. We've had Thames barges and everything down here this weekend. It's been fantastic. It's almost like they're booked in with the weather or something. Let's do something with the mainsail. Wind's been moving around all over the place in this river. Make sure that's not around the controls. And jib needs a little bit more riding turn on the winch. Always a good sign. Turning out to be quite a decent sail here. We can just sort the main sheet out a little. Yeah! Doing, I don't know, probably 4 knots against the tide. And we've got some more coming up, all with tan sails. This one up here is actually doing real. It's a lovely little boat, that.